What's up, everybody? Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com, HAWGsports.com. A lot to talk about on today's show. We're just like 18 days away from the start of Razorback fall camp. Arkansas attends SEC Media Days later this week on Thursday, which is kind of like walking into the bar after they've done last call. But we're going to discuss that. We'll talk a little bit about recruiting with Danny West, talk some basketball with Connor Goodson, and plenty of baseball to discuss as well. All that and more on today's episode of Hawg Sports Live. Let me know in the comments real quick if you can hear, because for some reason I'm not getting audio out on my end. So let me know if you can hear, if you don't mind, and if you can't, then I guess we'll have to start the show over. But for some reason I'm not getting audio. So, all right, what do we need to cover first? So SEC Media Days has begun today. As I mentioned, Arkansas goes last, which sucks because they were last year. And I remember walking in. I go in for the last day, and there's nobody in there. Everybody's just bailed out because that's how people do it. They show up, maybe a little late on the first day. Maybe they show up the night before. You've got all the big media events going on and everything the first couple of days. There's a lot of excitement, a lot of newness, freshness. By the last day, everybody's booked their flight out of there. Usually people leave the end of the third day. So Arkansas draws the worst straw again, having to go last. It's just, for the second year in a row to do that is typical, I guess, kind of feeling. It's almost like SEC scheduling Arkansas games. Greg Sankey was at the podium today. A bunch of non-answers, talked about expanding the NCAA tournament, which they're for, which I think anybody who is a fan of college basketball is against, but anybody who has a money interest in it is for. No reason to expand this tournament. Just ridiculous talk. I don't have a problem with the discussion of expanding the college football playoffs if you go to 16 teams, because that way you don't add extra rounds. It's still the same amount of time. You just eliminate the first round buys. The other thing I would like to see on on college football playoffs is to move the home field advantage from the first weekend to the second weekend. Do the bowl games that first weekend. If you keep it at 12, that is. Do the bowl games the second weekend. Do the bowl games the first weekend, eliminate the home field advantage for the teams that didn't get that bye, and then if you want to reward the teams that got the bye, let them have the home field advantage. I think that would be a benefit because I don't see a big difference in some of the teams that didn't get that first-round bye. Like, who's to say, 7-12 is that big of a difference? It's all subjective. So in Arkansas football scholarship news, J.J. Hollingsworth reports are that he is no longer with the team. Which I had alluded to earlier in the year when I said there's going to be a couple of players who are going to graduate and not be back. Bryce Stevens was the first player to do that, and I knew it was J.J. Hollingsworth. I just didn't know when he was graduating. I think maybe he had some summer school to attend to, but he's no longer on the Arkansas football roster. That brings Arkansas's total down to 84 scholarship players. So there's opportunity for a walk-on to get a scholarship. I had heard somebody say walk-ons are still a thing. They're still a thing in the SEC. There are 85 scholarship players. The roster limit is now gone from 120 down to 105. So they've shrunk the roster limit. Other schools out there can do 105 outside the SEC. I'm not sure which ones have that rule, but the NCAA says you can do 105 scholarship players. In the SEC, it's 85 scholarship players with 105 total roster. So there still are players who are walk-ons on the roster. One of those players will be able to get a scholarship because Arkansas is down to 84. Maybe they hold it. Sam Pittman's a big fan of applying that retroactively, maybe to a guy that contributed in some kind of way. All right. Plenty of ways to watch and listen to the show. If you haven't tuned in to us on Apple Podcasts, maybe give us a listen there. Give us a rating. 5 stars would be greatly appreciated. Leave a review. Let other people know what you think about the show. Give us a thumbs up or a like on Facebook, where we have 109,000 followers. Give us a thumbs up or a like on YouTube. Set it where you're notified anytime we upload new videos. And if you're interested in advertising with us, Hawg Sports is the highest rated and most reviewed podcast on Apple Podcast as it pertains to Arkansas. anything Arkansas, it's the highest rated. You can email your inquiries to Ty, T-Y-E, ESPN Arkansas at gmail.com. Got buddy Ty Richardson help us out with advertising. We've got some exciting news on some new sponsors. I've said before I want to get away from just like having, it cut to all the YouTube stuff in between and stuff. I'd like to just have an in-show. And I think we've got something set up for the walk and talk, so we won't have to have that, just a break in the middle. We'll just have a show sponsor. So very excited about a relationship coming up that we'll announce soon. I think that's it. So Arkansas scholarship distribution now at 84 for the class. Let's just take a look at this real quick, just where they are. So 4 quarterbacks. They need a walk-on quarterback. I'm not sure, looking at the roster, who a walk-on quarterback is, but somebody's got to run scout team, and it can't just be, one guy. It can't just be Grayson Wilson, or Trevor Jackson. I guess it could be, but like you really need 3 quarterbacks that you're preparing in game. Running back, they've got 4. Need to have a good, solid walk-on there. Also, wide receiver 12. That's probably too many. Tight end 5. That's about right, but I don't love that tight end room. Offensive lineman 14. That's 1 or 2 less than I would like to see them have, but at the same time, I'm not sure it matters as much with, transfer portal and stuff, having to, build and develop your offensive line. Obviously, Arkansas's got 5 commitments out of the high school rank, so that's what they're aiming to do, at least. Defensive end, they've got 8. Defensive tackle, they've got 9. They should have 9 or 8 there, one way or the other. Linebacker is 8. Cornerback is 9. Safety is 8. What does that give them? 17. So maybe they're 1 player shy in the secondary of what I'd like to see them at. 1 punter, 1 kicker, 1 long snapper. That's the scholarship distribution right now. Okay. I'm going to switch over to Danny West real quick. Nothing too outlandish, I guess, from SEC Media Days so far. You've had Shane Beamer has talked so far. He's very high on his team. Everybody's high on their team right now, but Shane seems extremely high on his team. Brian Kelly from LSU went earlier today also. He says he thinks he's got a defense that can win them championships. Doesn't feel like he's put them in a good enough position personnel-wise on defense. They've had some pretty great defensive players, but doesn't feel like overall they put them in a good enough position. 2023 feels like they had the offense to win a national championship, didn't have the defense. So he also mentioned Garrett Nussmeier and Heisman in the same breath. So if he feels like he's got an offense that can produce a Heisman candidate at quarterback and a defense, then LSU could be very tough. What stood out to me about LSU is they have not won an opener in the last 3 years under Brian Kelly and haven't won one overall since 2019. So that's 2020 through 2024. They did not win a home game, an opener. That's pretty crazy. 2019, of course, they won the national championship. All right, Danny West is going to hop on with us. Danny is remote right now. Danny, how's it going?
Hey, Biddy, you there?
Man, I can't hear anybody.
What you got, Biddy?
I can't hear anything. I don't know what to do. I could back out. Let me see if I can get into settings here. Audio. I don't know what to do. I can't hear Danny. I can't hear anybody. I got one idea. Okay. Maybe if I do this. System settings. Sorry, bear with me. I don't know why this is doing this. Sound. Output. Check, check. If this doesn't work, I don't know what to do. We just won't have any guests today. Danny.
Hey, buddy.
Gotcha. All right. I tried to go in and boost the volume a little bit, and I think I turned the output to the Rode microphone instead of my MacBook speakers. How's it going, man?
It's going. How are you? Sorry, I'm daddy daycare today.
I hear you. I hear you taking the kids to the park. It's that time. It's the time of year to do that kind of stuff
July,
right
man.
now. Danny, I've made sure that I have been like I took a vacation to the beach. This weekend, I'm going to take a trip to the lake with some friends. I've got a golf tournament on the 25th, and then that's it. It's disappearance of Trey Biddy for August camp and the rest of the football season. So it's important to invest time when you can with the family and make sure that you're charged up and you're more on the recruiting side of things. So what is going on right now with Razorback recruiting?
Yeah. All right. So, it's been a busy summer. I've got a little bit of an echo, Trey. I don't know if that's showing up on your end or not.
It's not.
I'm just going to work through it then. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been an eventful last 6 weeks or so. Obviously, June is always kind of our Super Bowl now. You think about June and December as being our busiest time in recruiting, and it was. But, you're looking at 26 commitments right now for 2026. It's just an insane number. Way ahead of fall camp. Normally we're rolling in there about 18, 19 commits on the heavy side, right? So This one's crazy. Still waiting on a few guys potentially to add to that total. I'll run through 3 of them here real quick, Trey.
Okay.
Starting with the running back spot. It's the only position so far that they haven't touched. They don't have a running back commitment. Still waiting on a couple of guys. They hosted 3 in June, 3 different running back targets, and got one coming up here in about 17 days. Jordan Avenger from North Carolina, big kid, 6'3", 225. Just about everybody, in fact, everybody wants him at linebacker. It's really down to East Carolina and Arkansas being the only one that wants him at running back is Arkansas. East Carolina wants him at linebacker. So, it really depends on, does he want to stay close to home? Is he comfortable making that full-time switch at the SEC level and rolling the dice to play running back at Arkansas? That's really what it comes down to. And, just because of the SEC banner, I would tend to favor Arkansas there. And again, that's August 1st. We're going to find out on Jordan. And then another Jordan Harris from inside the state of Arkansas. They're in Maumelle. Defensive end, 6'6", 235, somewhere in that range now. Really good-looking frame, and he also took a visit in June. And got to say, man, Missouri's been up there, Ole Miss has been up there, but I like the Razorbacks in their current position for Jordan. I did talk to Jordan Harris this morning, and he told me he still doesn't have a hard date in mind. So, guess we're still just gonna play that one by ear, but think they're feeling good there, Trey. And then TJ Hodges over at Mark Tree. Been a lot of talk about, in-state recruiting. Had a big story on it. It's kind of been a hot topic this summer, and TJ certainly at the kind of the forefront of that. It seems like Arkansas is maybe willing to pump the brakes a little bit and see if circumstances change, maybe on his end and where it might lead. But he's still on the radar for now. And that's kind of where it's at. We'll see where it goes. But first, we're going to find out on Jordan Avenger from North Carolina, August 1st.
Arkansas is at 26 commitments, I believe. Wes Taylor, 25, asked Danny. He says, who is the sleeper on this upcoming recruiting class? I thought we would do this class, the 2026 class, and maybe a pick for you, a sleeper from the 2025 class, even though
Sure.
All those guys have enrolled, and a good number of them already went through spring drills.
Yeah, always a fun subject, I guess, for Arkansas, because so often, so many of these guys are kind of mid-range to highly rated 3 stars, kind of fall in that sleeper category, if you will. So there's a bunch of that in this year's class. And if I had to just pick maybe even a position group, it might be the defensive tackle spot. Everybody's 6'3", 330 something. And, I know there's not a huge heavy ranking with any of those 3, but feels like Deke Adams is going out, and we talk about it all the time, you and I, buddy, but it's kind of getting that next best thing. If you're not able to get the 4 and 5 star, go get the next guy who's maybe a high 3 and has potential. Maybe he's lacking an inch or 2 in height. Maybe he's a little bit overweight in some cases. It can work the opposite way too. We've seen that with Ian and some of these guys, not throwing them under the bus, but we've seen that. And I think they may have found a little bit there. But if you're asking me for one guy, Trey, I'm not going to avoid the question. I'm going to go with Ben Mubenja, the offensive lineman from Buford, Georgia, originally from the Congo, We talked about him when he committed. Kid moved over here in 2017. He and his family mastered the English language, something I haven't done in almost 40 years. They did it in 6 months. No accent, no nothing. Yeah. And these people are just extremely sharp, extremely impressive. And you know, as a player, 6'5", 285, looks like $1 million. Started out on defensive end, and somebody along the way said, man, you need to switch over and play offense. And it just took off for him. He's, you know, soccer background, great feet, great strength. Love the kid. I think, you know, I said it when he committed, and I don't say this lightly. This is one of those types where one day you're watching Monday Night Football and you see him pop up, Ben Mubenja, the University of Southern Cal or whatever, and he's been in the league for 10 years, and you go, man, all the signs were there the entire time. I should have seen that coming. He's that type of guy, I think.
6'5", 290, Buford, Georgia. He's actually fairly decently ranked, 602 player nationally. Arkansas, Florida State, NC State, and Georgia Tech were his visits and top schools. He visited all of those schools officially. Going back to your comment on the defensive line, Danny, you're right. There's some big dudes in this group. You've got where's my first guy here?
Carnell.
Ari Slocum, 6'3", 309. A well-regarded recruit overall, 59 at his position. You've got where's my other guys?
Yeah, Carnell
Cameron
Jackson,
McGee,
Cam McGee, yeah,
and Carnell Jackson. Carnell Jackson is 6'3", 340, and Cam McGee is 6'3", 330.
Yeah, good size there. That's a really good group, man. And you know, I like going into the Southeast states. I don't know about you, Biddy.
I do too.
And the Alabama defensive lineman, when I hear that, or Georgia, it just seems a little different to me.
Well, think about all the guys that they've gotten, Danny. From like Caleb Bell, I think is a really impressive young defensive tackle. He's from Georgia, or is he from Alabama? Is he from Georgia?
Caleb is from Georgia.
Yeah, Cam Ball is another one from Georgia. And you think back even farther to Malcolm Shepard, Georgia.
Yep.
You know, there was another defensive tackle back in. I can see his face, but I'm spacing on his name. But like. I feel like they've gotten a lot of really
Patrick
good
Jones,
tackles
Alfred,
out of Georgia and Alabama, of course, and defensive ends too.
Ernest Mitchell.
Yeah,
Alfred
Ernest
Davis.
Mitchell. That's who I was thinking of. Yeah. That's way back.
Way back.
Yeah,
one of the strongest dudes that's ever come through, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Hey, but you were asking me about 2025 too. I kind of skipped over that. And did the sleeper for 26, but I'm having to scroll back through here, and what people don't realize. Man, once I put 2025 to rest in December, I forget everything. Like,
dude,
I see him on campus a few months later. I'm like, man, I hate to sound like RD and Otis here, but I don't remember this dude's name. I have no idea anymore. They're just in and out so fast, man.
Danny, it's like it's gotten. I used to be really good when I was younger at remembering names, and
yeah, me too.
There's some kind of study that like you can only remember or focus on like 170 people at a time in your life. And then after that, it just kind of spills over. And there's like some kind of research that like religious communes and stuff like break off at 170 and start new, you know, like stuff like that. I think that's the number anyway. But like I run into issues all the time where I have to lean on my wife and like, because I'll have people that recognize me or something from this show or something, and talk to me like they know me, which is great. I love that, but sometimes I don't know if I know them, in my life. And I think a big reason is because, even now it used to be you had to memorize 25 new players coming in every year, plus basketball and all that kind of stuff, and now it's like half the roster.
Every sport, brand new every year.
Yeah, I will know, a week into fall camp, I'll have everybody's number and name and, what they look like nailed. I'll know all of them. But when it comes to just like personal life, sometimes I embarrass myself at times and really have to
you embarrass us too. I mean,
yeah, I know. I'm an embarrassing human being. For this class, Danny, J.J. Shelton is a guy that really stood out in spring football. I might pick
That's
him as far as the early enrollees, and maybe the late guys. I might say Antonio Jordan.
That'd be a good call. I was leaning Keandre Johnson, just kind of hoping that works out because, man, I don't know about you. We've talked about it all for 6-7 months now, but where do they find the pass rush on this defensive line? I mean, I'm not saying throw the true freshman out there. That's not what I'm getting at, but just kind of in the back of your mind all summer, like, is it going to be enough? What they went and got in the portal, is Quincy going to take that next step? There's just so many questions that we won't know really. I mean, you'll talk about it a lot starting here in a few weeks, but we're really not going to know until 3-4 weeks into the year, probably.
It's my biggest concern on this team is the defensive line and probably defensive end. I actually think that maybe they could be okay if they can stay healthy on the interior, but defensive end just really worries me. So we'll see. Anything else to add, Danny, before we bring Connor on?
No, man, I'll step out of his way. I appreciate you having me. Sorry for the difficulties.
Well, it was on my end, so I don't know what you're apologizing for.
I'm not sorry at all then.
All right, we'll see you soon.
See you.
All right, everybody. That's Danny West. Again, you can follow Danny at Danny West 24/7 on X. Read his content at HawgSports.com, HAWGsports.com, where 1 month right now is $1. It's a great time to sign up for Hog Sports with everything coming up with football. Landon Montgomery says, by the way, he says, I hate this time of year. Videos get me hyped when we know it's going to be another tough season. I'm not trying to get you guys hyped. I mean, I'm in the camp of 6 wins again. I don't see enough improvement overall offense. I think the offense will be better, defense will be worse. I think the schedule's tougher. I think the schedule is as tough as it's ever been. So that's one reason I'm kind of in that camp, even though maybe they have improved a little bit. So before we get to Connor, I want to go over baseball. I don't even know if I'm caught up. They're going so fast. Kleiman, Iredale, Beidle Cheese. These have all happened since the show has started, I believe. Have gotten drafted. So it's going fast. It's going fast. Christian Fouch drafted by the Boston Red Sox at 148. This is all going on live right now. Charles Davalon was 41 overall by the Dodgers. Zach Root was 40th by the Dodgers. Back-to-backs. Vahiva Aloy was Baltimore with 31. And Gage Wood was 26 by the Phillies. Did I say Root? Aiden Jimenez. Jimenez was 158 by Kansas City. Did I say Zach Root? He's been drafted. Yeah, I think I said him. He was 40th. Yeah, there it is. Okay. So that's everything. And then Beidle Cheese, the Braves at 187. Iredale to the Pirates at 203. And then Kleiman, I have no idea who selected him, but I know that he was just taken. Okay. Let's get to Connor. Connor, how's it going, man?
What's up, Trey?
Not much. We had a chance to take in Arkansas basketball on, what was that, Wednesday?
Wednesday, yep.
Yeah, Wednesday. We got to watch about an hour or so of Razorback basketball practice. Had a 22-minute opportunity with the players, with Trevin Brazil and DJ Wagner, Malik Thomas, and Nick Pringle. And then we got 45 minutes, possibly the longest press conference I have ever been a part of with John Calipari. And there might have been like 7 questions asked. It's just, he likes to talk.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was a beefer of a press conference. But, the thing that I think stood out to me most after practice was just Calipari looks comfortable, man. He looks at home. He looks in the players. It kind of, rubbed off on the players as well. They all looked a little bit more comfortable. And compared to last year where it was like Calipari, he gets hired kind of late in the or early in the offseason, but it's kind of late with recruiting and roster building and schedule building. So he's kind of behind the 8 ball the whole time. And then you factor in they had injuries all summer and stuff. So this summer, it looks like it's gone a little bit easier for him, and he looks a lot more at home. The staff looks a lot more at home and comfortable, and you could definitely feel that in the press conference and at practice.
Yeah. Connor, your stream's looking good.
Is it?
Yeah. Did you do anything different?
It's I think it's the Firefox. I actually used Firefox this time.
Yeah, it's so weird because I was having trouble figuring out. I was like, I don't know why. When I switched over to using StreamYard, I couldn't figure out why the video was chopping up on me, and I knew it wasn't Ozarks Go, obviously, because everything was working, and humming has never not worked. Ozarks Go has been great. And turns out it was Chrome. It was Chrome eventually causing the signal to just degrade. And I tried out other browsers, and then Firefox for some reason worked great. So anybody
I
who's
got a
using
new router
StreamYard
recently from Xfinity, but I don't. It was just a natural upgrade. But I think it had to be the browser because my internet speeds and stuff. Like I know you went through this when you set this all up. But yeah, it's not the internet speeds. It's not the internet connection. It's probably the browser. So yeah. Glad we got that squared away.
Yeah, that's good. I probably should have mentioned that to you earlier. So we got a chance to watch basketball. I thought it was really entertaining to see them go through. I thought it was cool. The players came by and gave everybody a fist bump, dabbed everybody
up. Yeah, how about that?
Yeah, that was a nice touch. And I always tell my daughter, like, hey, when we're gonna go in here, say hello to every grown up. Ask them how they're doing, because they'll remember that. I noticed when kids do that with me. Like my daughter had a birthday party, and there were, the boys are all a little wild and rambunctious and stuff. And I just remember one of the kids, the only one, came up and said, "Hey, really appreciate you having us here, and thanks for everything." And like that sticks out to me. So having the players come around and dab everybody up, look everybody in the eye, 25, 30 media people. I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And you could definitely tell that it was Cal felt like kind of thankful to get a little bit of publicity, and you could tell that he, this was kind of his way of maybe not extending a full olive branch, but just kind of getting people involved. And, he's the king of, optics and saying the right thing, doing the right thing. And, I think that it was really good for not only people to get eyes on it, but it's good for the players to kind of, have that opportunity to get on camera and get that familiarity before the season, because it felt like we kind of rushed. Everything was so rushed last off season that, before the exhibition, that was your first really introduction. I mean, they had the tip off tour and stuff like that, but you just kind of, especially with the transfer portal and roster turnover, in college athletics in general, it's nice to kind of have some familiarity going into the season ahead of time with some of these guys. So I think it kind of goes both ways a little bit, and Cal obviously understands that. So yeah, it was good. I've got over 2,000 words up on this practice, my observations and just some notes. So go check that out over at HawgSports. It's a VIP article, obviously, but yeah, we had a lot to see, a lot of takeaways from that hour long session, and Cal said that we could go back in September. Hopefully he holds on to that promise, and we can kind of see the growth from then to now. So
it was well timed too. I mean, right before SEC football media days and fall camp and stuff, just a kind of a dead period overall, unless you're following, baseball transfer portal and high school recruiting and stuff. I want to ask you about a couple of guys that weren't there. Kareem Rital, is that how you say it? He's got a back
Rital
issue. The Lebanese Ford that's joined Arkansas. Paulo Samido from Angola, 7'1" big man, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce.
Elmir Zafic is
Elmir Zafic. Okay,
yeah.
And he's from
Bosnia.
Yeah, Bosnia. So we got 3 foreign players that weren't there. What do you think that they could potentially add to this team, which to me is a team built with, a little bit of experience at guard and some young guards, and then a lot of veterans in the post?
Yeah, I think that one of the things that stands out about this roster, even with these international ads, is they've got plenty of versatility all up and down the lineup. I mean, we were talking about a little bit on the board, is that, I mean, you have so many you can go to with this lineup with who you want to start, different rotation things. Isaiah Seeley, I don't think that really a ton of people had him on their radar as being a rotation player, but you're not going to be able to keep that kid off the floor if he does some of the things that he was doing in practice that we saw on Wednesday. With Zoffich and Semedo and even Rattel, I think Semedo's probably the most gifted of the three, just athletically, and still young, very raw prospect, but you've got a ton of size. He's like 7'1", and what we've seen from his grassroots circuit play is that they've actually had him running at the 3 and for the majority of the time, and then he's also played some of the 4. But even though he's 7'1", he's not really a true 5-man, not really a true 4 even at this time, just because he needs to put some weight on, he needs to get more comfortable. But I just kind of threw this out there on the board, but just imagine a lineup of Calipari talked about Billy Richmond as being a point guard, possibly figuring into that rotation. Imagine you had Billy Richmond at the 1, Malik Thomas at the 2, Semedo at the 3, Trevin Brazil at the 4, and then Ewan or Pringle at the 5. I mean, you've got a lineup of guys who are 6'6" and taller. How are you going to score on that? I mean, that just the versatility and the options that they have. Obviously, I don't know if that's a viable lineup. I haven't seen Semedo, but just little things like that with this lineup that you could do that could, make some coaches, have some restless, sleepless nights leading up to a game. I think the more versatility you have, the better. And I think that this roster, you can do a lot of stuff. And I'm really excited to see what they do. And when you get these guys in, Semedo and Zoffich, it's going to be really interesting to see how quickly they can acclimate and how quickly they can kind of, get their bearings under them and figure into the rotation.
Connor, anything else you want to add? How is your 2026 Dynasty effort going? Mine got off to a rocky start, and that's one of the questions that we have today. Is actually the first question from Hogs Fan 69. Nice. Trey, what happened in your online Dynasty game last night that resulted in the Badgers taking an L? So I'm Wisconsin this year. I wanted to pick Arkansas, but I got the 5th pick, and I think Arkansas went right before me. But I'm Wisconsin, and I'm struggling with offense. I adopted a new playbook and thought I had it down, and it turns out I just throw interceptions in the red zone. I lost 24-7, could not score in the red zone, held him to 194 yards, but I could not score. So I'm back to the drawing board possibly on selecting a playbook. Unfortunately,
that's my biggest thing too. I'm not really comfortable with any of the playbooks. I'm not super I can go in and get against the computer and find some stuff that I like, but when you get in that user experience, I'm not really comfortable. So I'm probably going to get smacked in the mouth as well. And I'll probably throw 50 interceptions this season before I figure out anything that works. And it's the good thing is that it's not like your season's not completely over, because then we have promotion, relegation, and all that stuff. So
it was a non-conference game. It was a non-conference. My first 3 games are non-conference games. So, which for those who don't know, we play in a 27-person dynasty, members of HawgSports only, 9 teams per conference, 3 conferences with promotion and relegation. So, that's our league setup. So I get 3 games, I guess, to get warmed up, but we enjoy that. We like talking about it every once in a while.
I don't know if our wives enjoy it as much as we do, but
oh God, no. I was having a problem with a dude yesterday. He was like, "Hey, I got 8 o'clock. I can play." Like the only time he could play. And I was like, "Okay." So I told my wife, "Is like, hey, if you go pick our daughter up from cheer practice, I can knock this game out and we can hang out the rest of the night." And then he keeps pushing it back, and I'm just like, "Dude, you do not know what you're doing." He's like, "I'm sorry, I've got a wife and kids too." I'm like, "Yeah, but." but I'm making concessions, and I sent my wife to go pick my daughter up.
It's gonna be interesting, but I'm still looking forward to it. Kayla's coming around a little bit. So
my wife's like, "What 47-year-old man plays video games?"
Just send her the group message.
I'm like, "Just this one. This is the only game that I play." Like, I would rather be golfing.
Be a lot worse. There are a lot worse vices out there for you to have.
Sure. Yeah. I exactly. All right, Connor. Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you, Trey.
All right, everybody. That's Connor Goodson. Again, follow him at Connor Goodson on X. Read his content at HawgSports. You can read his entire, as he mentioned, 2,000-word breakdown on Arkansas basketball practice, and read all the content that came out from that event there. Okay, let's see where we want to go. Any more players drafted? No. A little bit of a break there. Again, Arkansas SEC Media Days on Thursday. It'll be Cam Ball. It'll be Xavier Sori and Taylon Green, of course. Taylon Green making his second straight appearance. I had actually thought that they would bring Fernando Carmona. I wonder a little bit, maybe they didn't bring him because of the incident with the Texas Tech game or something, and just wanted to avoid, I guess, maybe the national media on that. I don't know, but that's just a guess. But it's also a tough decision between those three players after Taylon Green. Like, I think it's a toss-up with all of those guys. So, and Sori probably, you know, he's got NFL ability, all SEC potential, of course. I'm really glad that they selected Cam Ball for this, because that's the guy that has been through this program. He's in his 5th year coming up. He's developed through this program. You never heard any talk about him possibly transferring or anything. He was always one of the first guys to say, hey, I'm coming back. He had to sit out the spring with an elbow injury. I think he's got potential, and he's one of my favorites all time, really. So he'll do a great job at the podium too, representing Arkansas. So pleased to see him get selected. Okay, where are we going to go? I think we could pop over to some questions now. We went 70 minutes on the last show just talking Razorback football, just me and you together. 1,000 points of light. It's easy to get excited about football right now, and you should be excited. You should be excited. You should not just be going in just like, oh, going to suck again, even though they might. Like, it's football. There's reason for excitement. There's reason for hope. Crazy things happen in college football, even if we don't anticipate it. And I've said this many of times, that nobody is ever going to expect Arkansas football to be good if they weren't really good the year before and they don't have their starting quarterback returning. Nobody's ever going to predict them to win a bunch of games. It's just not going to happen. So it's not surprising that everybody would be a little down in the dumps. But, guys, we don't get a lot of football, and it'll be disappointing if things don't go well this year. But let's let it be disappointing then. Let's enjoy what's coming up. Let's enjoy fall camp and learning about all these new players. And, we may be frustrated. I thought Paul Feinbaum today made a really good point. We may be frustrated with the state of college football and the lack of transparency and players leaving, on a whim. But it's not going to change the fact that when the season kicks off, we're all going to be in front of our TVs or at the game, cheering on the team, excited about college football again, going to tailgates. I mean, it's some of the best times of the year. Fall is the best. Fall is my favorite. Unquestioned, my favorite month is October, which is dead in the middle of fall. You've got, baseball wrapping up. Basketball season has just started. You're in the thick of it with conference football season. The weather's great outside. The food's great. You've got stews and squashes and soups and chili, and let's put a bow on the whole month with Halloween. It's also my birthday month. Arkansas plays Texas A&M the day before my birthday, which hasn't always been a good thing, I guess, birthday weekends. But, I mean, we got to fight through August. August is like the torture month, in a lot of ways. Not that it's not enjoyable, because this is the time when I get to, get geared up for the season. This is really when I look at my opportunity to put a great product out there for everybody, in terms of I'm not saying like I'm like super, you should listen to everything I say when it comes to football, but like I am so into it that like I just feel like I'm so into it and I get a front row seat for all of it. I feel like there's an obligation, and I enjoy being able to put that information out there for people. And I hope that shows. I think it does. I think it shows through my passion for it and my love for it, and how much it crushes me at times when things go differently than they should for Razorback football, because the expectations for this program they haven't been met over the years. They just haven't. I don't think that they're ridiculously high expectations. I think asking for Arkansas to go 500 in conference play is reasonable. It is a reasonable expectation for us to have. It's not anything great. It's not winning the SEC even, we'd love to see that. We'd love to see that happen. But, winning 3 or 4 non-conference games every other year and going 500 in the SEC, maybe every once in a while, guys, you go 5-3 or even 6-2, you have that great year. You win your 4 non-conference games, that can happen. Having a 10-win regular season can happen. Having a 9-win regular season can potentially get you in the college football playoffs in the SEC. It depends on how it shakes out and who you beat and stuff, but that to me, like, I'm not even saying every year to make the college football playoff, but every once in a while, if you can win 9 or 10, and most of the time to get 7 or 8 in the regular season. Maybe you win your bowl game, maybe you don't, That's how I feel about it. I don't feel like these are outlandish expectations, like as a bottom line, even to go 500 in, anything from year 2, 3, 4, 5 and beyond, whatever. I don't think it's unreasonable to ask your administration, your football coach, to win. Somebody put a video up of me like breaking down the walk and talk, all the times I'm just dejected and just like, and the thing that stood out to me is where I'm in the north end zone and I'm showing behind me the stadium and ask the question, like, do you build something like this if you don't have expectations for your football program? Should you repeatedly ask the fans to pay all this money and invest all this time? Think about the investment that you make. Like, to me, like the Tennessee game made a lot of it worth it because that was an amazing experience, an amazing game. But there was a long stretch before that where you pay, like, think about people who know, like, what tickets cost, especially for decent seats, what tickets cost. If you're coming from different parts of the state or out of the state, you need a hotel. Well, there's a 2-night minimum on the hotel. Ticket cost, 2-night hotel, all the money and effort you plan into tailgating, creating all this environment and stuff and, having fun and stuff, but you're really there for the game. And you get to the game and you're paying, how much money are you paying for a beer? I mean, I'm working, so I'm not drinking beer at the game, but I would if I could. And how much you paying for food? All of those things, how much money it costs for your tickets, for you to bring, your wife, your 2 kids. It's a lot. It's a lot of time investment. It's a lot of money investment. And for a long stretch there, Arkansas would just get the crap kicked out of them in the first quarter and the game's over. That's frustrating. So to build like the facilities that Arkansas has built, the stadium that Arkansas has had, the investment and all of that stuff, and to put a mediocre product out there, to me is just completely unacceptable. And I've said this before, the only time you should ever have a losing season is your first year. And after that, to me, it's not acceptable to lose. And if you do have a losing season, you better have something to fall back on. In my opinion, like when Sam won 4 games, that was extremely disappointing. He did have a 9-win season in the recent history to kind of fall back on. But that's my opinion on it. So that's my opinion on Arkansas football. All right, let's get to the questions right now. So the first one, obviously, what happened to my dynasty game? I told you. I'm going to have to look and explore different options with my playbook. Wes Hogg is curious how much I can bench press. My shoulders are not what they used to be. I tore my rotator cuff last year, so I do have a problem with that. I'm not going to talk about how much I bench press. It's more than most. Chad Razorback says, Trey, what came first, Missouri's big boost in NIL or Missouri's 11-win season? I believe their 11-win season came before they got that big donation for NIL and facilities upgrades. I'm pretty sure it was the 11-win season. I think it was right after that. Arkansas didn't do a very good job, in my opinion, of capitalizing on their 9-win season. There was a lot of momentum at that time. And I just get a feeling with Arkansas in a lot of ways that there is a catch-up mentality. Even just the idea that they went from the one Arkansas NIL collective to Arkansas Edge, which I think is a much better run organization overall, and just structured better, but also playing catch up because it wasn't there right out of the gate when it needed to be. Gateway Hog says, Trey, are there any vocal leaders on this team, either on or off the field, and how are they setting the tone for the season? Okay, so I'll start in the secondary. I think that Larry Worth is absolutely a vocal leader on this team. Larry Worth kind of got jobbed a little bit a couple times, and I brought it up to him because there were 2 hits where he tackled to the ground he wasn't supposed to, and he got chewed out. The first one, I believe, was AJ Green coming around the corner, and Larry just kind of stopped, and AJ hit him and went to the ground and everything, and they got chewed out. The next time was in the indoor, and Mike Washington was coming around, and Mike Washington lowers his shoulder hard. And so Larry Worth's option is just kind of stand there and let him just knock the crap out of him, or to bow up and they go down, and Larry Worth catches the heat for that and got pulled out of practice for a bit. But Larry Worth would be one of those. Linebacker, I'm not sure that I would say Xavier Sori is super vocal, or Dix. I just don't know. Cam Ball is definitely a vocal guy on the defensive line on the inside. Quincy Rose could be. I'm not really sure if he is or not. Fernando Carmona on the offensive line. Hopefully Caden Kittler is. Talon is a little more stoic. Just not a lot of energy sometimes, but that's just who he is. So, and I'm not sure on wide receiver either. But those would be the guys that jump out to me. Web 11 says, your thoughts on the Arkansas job in terms of attractiveness. In-state recruiting is not that attractive. NIL support could be better compared to other SEC schools, without a question. Does NIL need to increase prior to making the next hire after Pittman retires, or does the next coach need to come in and win to gain support in NIL collective? Chicken or the egg type of situation. To me, I don't think you're going to hire a decent coach without a solid NIL plan, collective, everything in order. Now we'll see how the revenue sharing model changes things, because we're still in a crazy period with college athletics where there's not as much oversight as there going to be next year. So we'll see how that works. But I don't think you're going to get a coach. So even if, something happens with Pittman and he retires, whatever, you're going to need to have something in place either immediately after where you can present, or it needs to go ahead and happen. I just don't think I'm going to wait till they win is an effective strategy to donate to NIL. So Wes Taylor 25 says, Trey, are there any position battles that aren't really being talked about on the football team? I think in the secondary there are opportunities. I think they really are going to, put Selman Bridges in a position to succeed there. I think they have a lot of faith in him. The other cornerback spot, Jaheim Singletary probably came out of the spring. Jaheim has been not quite what we thought he was going to be. Would be nice if he stepped up and kind of lived up to, he was a 5-star. It'd be nice if he lived up to 4-star status. So Singletary, Kenai Walker also, who was banged up, and Jordan Young, who was missed all of spring. Those guys started at Oklahoma and Cincinnati, respectively. Those 3 guys. You also got Julian Neal. Where does he fit in? Is he a corner? Is he a nickel? Or one of those guys a nickel? One of those other guys. So I think you've got probably potentially 4 or 5 guys, because you've also got Keyshawn Davila, who was the number 1 ranked cornerback prospect out of junior college. You've got 5 guys there and 6 with Bridges. So you could say all 6 of those guys possibly. So I think that there's a lot of competition going on there. Depending on what happens at nickel, you may have some competition at safety. I personally like Larry Worth, Miguel Mitchell at safety, and maybe Neal. I don't know. I haven't seen Neal in person. I just, based on what I kind of hear, maybe he's the guy that fits in at the nickel spot. So There's definitely some competition there at one of the corner spots, maybe both of them, but at least one of them. And then defensive end, I think there's potential for competition with Phillip Lee coming in, Charlie Collins, Justice Boone. I don't know about Ken Talley or not, but there's potential there for some competition. Offensive line at right tackle and right guard. If Shaq McCroy ends up winning the right tackle spot, then I think there's a lot of possibilities at right guard. It could be Keyshawn Blackstock. It could be Emarion Harris, unless he wins the right tackle job. It could be Kobe Branham. Kobe Branham is a guy they like a lot. Kobe should be getting pretty close to back to healthy right now. And, I think maybe there's an argument over who starts between Mike Washington and Braylon Russell. And at receiver, you've added 2 guys, Andy Jean, Jalen Brown. Maybe one of those guys, or both of them even, maybe they come in and make a really good push for playing time. But I think you've got a lot of competition at wide receiver, even though it seemed pretty consistent at the end. Ismail Cece, who has broken his wrist apparently in the weight room, I think he'll obviously be – he's got over 2 weeks left, and that's probably a week ago, I guess. So I don't know how long a broken wrist takes to heal. Jared Cornelius, you guys remember him when he broke his arm? It's like bent over. It's like, ugh. And he was back in like 3 weeks or something ridiculous. Anyway, so yeah, there's still a lot of competition, I think. Okay. Raw Hog says, Trey, how many transfers out the last few years been Sam pushing guys out and leaving for a better offers? I don't think that many players are sustainable. What do you think? Well, we can look at it real quick. I don't think that's the right model. Obviously, having over half of your roster being new players, either from high school or the transfer portal or junior college. Let's look at the transfer portal and see. John Calipari had an interesting comment Wednesday about you should only be able to transfer once. And that makes sense because you go to 4 different schools in 4 years, as he was saying, you're not graduating college. You're out of eligibility. You're not graduating because some of the, courses don't transfer over, all that kind of stuff. And he's right. But what about the guy that's we really don't have a spot for you. You're not playing. You probably should explore other options. Is that guy going to be penalized? He only gets one opportunity to get cut. I don't know if that's fair. So maybe you can, have the option if that's the case that you're in, you can transfer once, and if it doesn't work out, you can transfer down a level or something. All right, so guys that were, in my opinion, processed, because a lot's been made of all the guys that are no longer with the team. 41 outgoing transfers. That includes Aiden McCowan, who was a walk-on, for example. Okay. So it's not 41. It's more like 36 probably. Tyrell Reed, I could see that. Maybe there's just not playing time for him. It could have been mutual with him. He ended up at ULM. Blake Boda, I don't think that was a big loss. Christian Ford ended up at Missouri State. You guys can do the math on some of these. Juju Pope wasn't going to play here. Shamar Easter wasn't going to play here. He ended up at North Carolina, but Shamar he was a third-team wide receiver, and they moved him from tight end because he couldn't get on the field there. And the tight end room, to be honest with you guys, is not that deep. So, yeah, same deal there. Zuri Madison ended up at Arkansas State. It's another one. Madnia Maliava, okay, that's one. So we got one so far that I would say definitely was not processed out of here. Madnia Maliava, I think he's a good player. Very unfortunate. Quentin Murphy ended up at ULM. I don't know that was a processing as much as maybe he just wanted to. We wasn't happy with them moving him to defensive back. I don't know, but he ended up at ULM. So whatever it is, it's not oh my gosh, this is awful. Shoffrey Brown hasn't ended up anywhere. But also, I don't even know if he has eligibility remaining. Unless he took a medical hardship at Arkansas. So he had no choice if he wanted to play football again, but to leave. Dallas Young ended up at South Alabama or something. Desmond James, I don't think that they wanted him to go, and he ended up at Cal. Obviously, he had a really good practice. Vito Calvaruso, I saw him the other day. He's not – I think he might be done with college football. Brooks Yurchek was a walk-on. Jezreel Batchert was a walk-on. Rashad Dubinion ended up at Appalachian State. I don't think Rashad Dubinion would have been, like, encouraged to leave. I don't know that that's the case. But maybe it was because he also seemed all Razorback. I'm going to say maybe that's medium. I don't know. I'm going to say maybe not. Let's go on the side of maybe not pushed out. Addison Nichols, I think 100% Addison Nichols, they were fine with him. He ended up at SMU. I think they were fine. Brad Spence, I definitely don't think they wanted him to go. I had heard Texas offered him so much money he could not turn it down. Tykees Crawford wasn't going to play here. Cameron Bibby was a walk-on. Caden Henley wasn't going to play here. Alex Sanford wasn't going to play here. He ended up at Purdue. Not that I don't hope these guys, do well, but like they just weren't going to play. They just weren't going to play here. Dylan House wasn't going to play here. Ended up at App State. Davion Dozier, I think he might have quit the team at some point. I can't remember, but wasn't going to play. He looked like $1 million, but he could not get on the field. Ended up at App State. Sam Dubwig transferred to Purdue as a walk-on. Emmanuel Crawford, walk-on. Eli Stein quit the team. That's another one, but lost his job and quit before the season started. Took a scholarship and quit. Tevis Metcalf, definitely didn't want him to go. TJ Metcalf didn't want him to go. Carson Dean wasn't going to play here. Isaiah Satania, I don't think they wanted him to go. Joshua Braun, I think they were fine with him leaving. He ended up at Kentucky. I don't think that would count as a guy that, they were just like really wanting to stay. Jalen Braxton, definitely. Nico Davier, I don't think they wanted a starting defensive end to go, but maybe he viewed it as he could get more money somewhere else. Are we at 10 now? I think we're at 10. Luke Has, 11. Patrick Kudus is 12. Malachi Singleton, I think, is 13. Amari Wiggins, no big deal. Ty Washington quit the team, ended up at Notre Dame. Good landing spot for him, but he quit. Varkey's Gums. No, excuse me, he was kicked off the team because he wouldn't go in the game. Varkey's Gums kicked off the team. Jaden Wilson quit the team before the season started because he didn't get his way. So 13 guys out of the 36 or so scholarship players that entered the transfer portal, to me, were like losses. Guys that they probably didn't want to see go. 13. Okay. How much are we paying Saban? So Greg McElroy says he has a really good source that says Saban wants to get back into coaching. WPS 88 says, when's the last time you had some chocolate gravy? Guys, I don't remember having chocolate gravy. That's a Danny West thing. I don't remember ever eating chocolate gravy. My favorite gravy was probably like sawmill gravy, like you'd have on a biscuit, like the white. I like the brown on a biscuit too, but the white, biscuits and gravy, like to me is just like that's breakfast, right? Had red eye gravy. I've had, brown gravy, of course. I always thought the brown gravy at Kentucky Fried Chicken was the bomb. I was watching, my daughter and I have started watching Stranger Things together. She's 12 now, so she's, to me, probably old enough to, watch it, although she watches a lot with the the sheets over her head. But we've been watching that, and we're on season 2, and they're at Barb's parents' house, and they've got they're eating dinner, a nice sit down dinner. They got a bucket of KFC and all the sides and stuff, and I was like, that really, I can't remember the last time I've had KFC, but like that to me, probably every other week, when Mom brought home a bucket of KFC and all the sides and stuff, that was like, yes, that was exciting. I don't think anybody really eats, unless they're eating at home, I don't think anybody eats chicken with a bone on anymore. But I like the sawmill gravy. I really don't think I've ever had chocolate gravy before. And I mean, I was born in Georgia, so don't say I'm not Southern. I think chocolate gravy might be a little more redneck Southern. Yeah. Danny West gravy. All right. I'm probably going to get some calls on that one. Shabaka says, Trey, just for some perspective, how would you rate this team if we were in the pre-transfer portal days? For instance, how would these teams stack up against 2015? Trying to wrap my mind around how much better the teams are now that the portal exists. Thanks. It's not so much that like you go back to look at that 2015 team, and let's look at it real quick. That'll be fun. Let's look at the 2015 Arkansas football team because there are NFL guys. You got Brandon Allen and those guys. See if I can bring it up nice and clean without it being edited any kind of way. Sometimes like they remove players. Okay, I think we get, yep, okay. So let's look at it. You know, Keon Hatcher was a good player on that team. Cody Hollister played in the NFL. Drew Morgan was on that team. Tight end. A.J. Derby was on that team. Played in the NFL. Was drafted. Hunter Henry was on that team. Jeremy Sprinkle was a tight end group. Barry Lunny put together a tight end group now. Frank Ragnow, Dan Skipper, Sebastian Tretola. I mean, this is they've got a team here, right? Alex Collins, Jonathan Williams, Brandon Allen. Brooks Ellis didn't play in the NFL, but was a good player. Martrell Spate. Sam Irwin Hill was a heck of a punter. Bray Cook was on that team. Mitch Smother was on that team. DeMarcus Hodge, Bijan Jackson, Tywan Johnson, Darius Philon's on that team. Guys, this is a roster here. Dietrich Wise is on that team. Trey Flowers. Now, I'm going to get to a point here. Kevin Richardson was a good player on that team. Okay, so I named off a lot of guys that made it to the NFL and a lot of guys that were good players. What it doesn't show is the freshmen and redshirt freshmen you are having to rely on, the holes that you have on a team like this versus this team that Arkansas has. I mean, you're talking about, what are there, 28 seniors on this team? Like, that used to be unheard of to have that. Usually, like, if you had a good senior class, you'd have, like, 13, 14, 15 seniors or something like that. So to have that many seniors that they have now is a huge difference. Who are the freshmen? Who are the redshirt freshmen that they're relying on this team? Not many. Second-year players, Selman Bridges, maybe Shaq McCroy, Braylon Russell. I mean, you have so many more older players that, to me, that's the difference. And 2015 is a hell of a roster. It really is. It may be Arkansas's best roster over the last 10 years, which is what we're coming up on with 2025. That's maybe the best roster in terms of top-end talent, NFL talent. But what it doesn't show are there are holes on this team that were filled with younger players, inexperienced players. And so while you don't have the NFL talent maybe with this team, let's see, who's in NFL talent? Maybe Taylon Green, maybe Braylon Russell, maybe Shaq McCroy, maybe Cam Robinson or Corey Robinson, maybe Fernando Carmona, Cam Ball, potentially Quincy Rose. I mean, there's a lot of potential guys. Xavier Sorey, maybe a Larry Worth could be. He's got potential physically. But, it's easier, I guess, to look back and say, these guys obviously all made it to the NFL. It's a tough one, I think. I think it's a tough one. But the difference is, a lot of NFL talent and a lot of holes versus not as much NFL talent and, not the same holes. That would probably be, the balance of it. Okay. Branson Hawk says, what all are you hearing from inside the building? Is the team bonding well with all the changeover? I mean, we don't get much from inside the building right now. I am hoping to get some, testing numbers and stuff like that. I haven't heard the negative. That's what I guess I don't hear like, oh, it's, the team's bonding so well. Usually what I hear is some spattering of negativity, which I heard some in year 3 with Pittman and heard it again in year 4. Didn't hear it as much last year. So I have not heard, I'll say that I have not heard like stuff about, players not getting along or, often. I used to hear with Chad Morris when he was coach here, I used to hear so much crap out of that building, like just garbage. Like I'm talking, this player doesn't like this player. These players, always getting into a fight. Offense doesn't like the defense. Old guys don't like the young guys. Offensive staff doesn't like the defensive staff. All kinds of stuff. Nobody likes Chad. All kinds of stuff all the time. That's why I knew it was just not going to happen. It wasn't going to work out. So that's it. All right. Another long show today. If you're interested in advertising, be sure to hit up Ty at Tye, ESPN Arkansas at gmail.com. Just reach out, see what we have to offer, see what we can do for you. Again, Arkansas's #1 rated and #1 reviewed podcast, HawgSports Live. So appreciate it. Thanks to Danny West and Connor Goodson for joining us. Appreciate you guys for your questions. And that should do it today. All right, everybody. This has been Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com. Catch you next time.